Hello again, folks. It's your friend Adam. Just a heads up, for episodes 5 and 6, we used a remote recording solution that didn't quite live up to the expectations that JP and I had for it, but we had two really great guests and we didn't want to lose what they brought to the show, so we did everything we could to preserve the audio. The shows are good, 100% listenable, of course, just not quite the standard that JP and I would normally hold ourselves to. That said, thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm JP.
And I'm Adam.
I've never seen Lost.
I have.
I'm told that it's good.
I liked it.
I'm told that it made sense.
Sort of.
But we're watching it out of order.
So it definitely won't make sense.
But it might still be good. Since we won't expect it to make sense, we'll still be able to appreciate each episode on its own merits as a one-hour story.
Sometimes 2 or 3.
As opposed to just a fraction of an ongoing, sprawling, and increasingly complex tangle of relationships, personal stories, mysteries, mythologies, experiments, social dynamics, unnatural disasters, unanswered questions, and hot tropical hookups.
Are you okay?
I'm not sure.
Because you lost me a little bit there at the end.
Well, good, because I've been lost since the beginning. We're lost on Lost.
Welcome, everybody, to Lost on Lost. I am Adam Busher, joined as always by JP Russell.
Yellow.
Today we are talking about Everybody Hates Hugo, the 4th episode of Season 2 and the 29th episode overall. Our featured character is Hugo Hurley Reyes. Everybody Hates Hugo takes place on the 46th day after the crash of Oceanic 815. JP.
I'm ready to do the recap.
Let's do it.
If we learned anything from the film Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps, it's that money never sleeps. And neither does Hurley with his duties. Unless you're talking about punching in the numbers, in which case, yes, he does fall asleep, but not on the food that he's supposed to be taking care of. What was I talking about? Hurley. Hurley is put in charge of supplies that were found in the hatch. We explore some of his backstory and see how his past informs his current responsibility. We explore more about the mysterious hatches. We find out what side of the Stanford prison experiment Michelle Rodriguez was on, and John Locke has a gun. Ho, ho, ho. Our guest today is Kevin Heyer. How's it going, Kevin?
It's going good. How's it going with you guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. This is the only show where telling someone to get lost is actually an invitation for more discussion, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
All right, so we're on episode, this is what, 6, so now we have to start over and introduce all of our guests like that. So we'll just start re-recording all the episodes up to this point. Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself. What we've sort of talked about you previously in our last episode with
talking about how, why, who, why.
You owe money to some people in big places. We talked to your co-host James from Trailer Hitch.
Sure. Yeah, James is a decent guy. He's good at explaining things, but just in case you need a second opinion on what's happening with our podcast, yes, I co-host a podcast called Trailer Hitch. We rate and review movie trailers. And based off of how we feel about the trailer, we then see the movie, then look at the trailer in retrospect and see how that stacked up to the movie and if it properly sold us for the movie. I think everyone has an example where they see a movie and they go, that's not what the trailer told me this was. Whether that be you went into a movie thinking it was going to be a wham bam action movie and then you got The American with George Clooney or something along those lines. And so that's kind of what our podcast is centered on, is actually looking at trailers as their own work and then seeing how that stacks up to the movie too.
Nice. And you have a writing background.
I do.
And you attended a film school.
I did do all of those things. Yeah, I've been screenwriting. And bear in mind, when I say screenwriting, I mean, I've been fucking around on a computer or a laptop since I was about 13 years old and did go to school for it. I did go to the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh and then moved out here. And right now I work as a script coordinator in TV writers' rooms.
Nice.
So as for what a script coordinator is, I can actually tie this into Lost because, I fucking do my research for these shows. So... in the commentary track for the pilot for Lost, they had an anecdote about how the character Boone used to be called Five. That used to be his original character name. And then Five, yes. And I was about to say, all of the writers came together and recognized that's stupid, and so they changed it to Boone.
Okay.
So what they did was they did a find and replace in Final Draft, which is a screenwriting software, and just changed Five to Boone. However, there is a monologue in the pilot where Jack is talking about this really stressful time in his life, and he just had to count to 10. So he sat there and he was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, boon. And then apparently everyone poked their head up during the table read and went, oh shit. So if you want to know what a script coordinator does, I would be the person doing the find and replace, and ideally making sure something like that doesn't happen.
Right. So your counterpart on the Lost pilot was fired.
I hope not. They shared that on the DVD track as like a fun little anecdote. I really hope no one got screamed at. I hope that person is doing okay. If you are out there, you should hit up this podcast, tweet at them, and let you know, oh no, everything turned out fine. Or, nah, I got fired and I spiraled into a deep, deep drunken depression after that. And I just feel like that would give you guys some more flavor.
Yeah.
I'm just, boy, we're 6 episodes in, and I have not done a tenth of that amount of research. I've just kind of yelled at lighting that's happening on the show that I have to watch for this podcast. So,
JP, I'm so fucking excited to hear that, though. I want you to be like, this looks like a shitty CW show, and I'm really here for it. And for what it's worth, it's because I grew up watching Lost. So like right when it dropped, I loved the pilot. I saw all of season 1, loved it. Watched all of season 2, loved it. I bought like the DVDs and I watched the commentaries because I was so fascinated with it.
Sure.
Granted, I did fall off somewhere in the middle of like season 3. And then when the finale came to be, I sat down with a friend who had kept up with the show the entire time and watched it and went, I'm really confused and I don't really feel satisfied. But that makes sense because I didn't watch half of the show. And I looked over at my friend and she went, the hell was that? And so I realized that was actually just kind of a general reaction. It'd be kind of interesting to hear how the finale is received now, because I know like the end of The Sopranos, everyone shout out. Now people are like, oh no, that's genius. So
yeah, we're definitely going to have that conversation as we draw closer to that in a few years.
Yeah.
Cool. Yell at the lighting while you do it, please. Also,
I'm confused and angry is also the subline for this podcast. So,
well, yeah, because you guys are watching it out of order, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, we are. We took the first 3 seasons 1 through 3. I assigned them all a random number and put them into a random number generator, and we were watching them in the order it spit out.
Has that led to anything awkward so far? I know you guys are only at episode 6, but have you already watched it from like the back half of season 3?
We've had one season 3 episode. Other than that, the rest of our episodes have been season 1 or 2. And admittedly, the season 3 episode we watched so far, Man Behind the Curtain, which was I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, was a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So JP, I know just because you're the one who had no background knowledge of Lost before we jumped in, mental health check. How are you doing, bud?
It's not so much me, it's more Hulu, because, Hulu's trying to set me up for success and be like, oh, you want to watch the next episode, right? And I'm like, nope, not again. And Hulu's like, you doing all right, dude? Like, what's going on? Why are you doing this? And oddly enough, the one episode from season 3 that we watched is one of the, 4 episodes of Lost that I've seen before. So, it's worked out pretty well so far.
Okay, cool.
Excellent. Let's get into it. Let's talk Lost.
Yes.
Everybody Hates Hugo originally aired on October 12th, 2005. It was written by Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz and directed by Alan Taylor. Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz are a regular writing partner. They wrote quite a few episodes of Lost throughout their careers, and then they went on to co-create and become co-executive producers of Once Upon a Time.
Indeed, yeah. I know that all too well because I interviewed to be their assistants about 5 years ago. I interviewed to be a showrunner's assistant for them, and I will say they did seem like pretty nice guys. It was an awkward interview though, because they kind of tried to adopt a good cop, bad cop routine in the middle of their interview process, and it was pretty clear that those weren't roles that were natural to them. So So it was just an awkward 40 minutes. But the moments when that cracked, they seemed like really good dudes.
Kevin, one of them, or both of them failing to be good cop or bad cop, and is an awkward 40 minutes is what you're about to buckle up for right now.
I was just scrolling through this before I got onto the Alan Taylor bit. Kitsis and Horowitz also wrote Tron Legacy.
They did, yeah.
So there you go.
That came up in the interview.
Were you like, Tron Legacy? I love that movie. Give me a job. And they were like, we forgot we wrote that movie.
More or less, yeah.
Alan Taylor, the director of this episode, he's a very regular television director. He directed a handful of The Sopranos. He directed a handful of Game of Thrones. He only ended up doing one episode of Lost, but he's done a lot of TV. And one of my favorite shows going back, Homicide: Life on the Streets. So capable director, capable writers for, in my opinion, a quite enjoyable episode.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about the? Do you want to? Because I think Kevin mentioned this, or JP mentioned this. The flashback. This is one of these episodes where the flashback and the island storyline run in parallel, and you're seeing a comparison between what's happening in current time and how it was informed by an event in the main character's past. So, I mean, we can easily discuss either one of these. These storylines in the episode, the flashback or the present day thing with.
I will say, as someone who I haven't watched the show in a really long time, and we started with that dream sequence, I immediately sat back and thought, I forgot how weird the show could fucking get, and I was really excited. And then when we pulled back into the reality of Hurley having to hit the button, I did think that was a really good lead-in for the episode. What I found interesting about the cold open was we then kind of got to, in quotes, the main plots with the characters who are thrown into a pit, and Michelle Rodriguez is occasionally throwing them rope. And I was a little bit thrown off by that. But ultimately, I just accepted that that's because I haven't really thought about the show all that much in a decade. Yeah.
Also, just moving forward, can you not refer to it as the cold open and refer to it as I Dream of Ginny? Because he's... just, that's for me. I mean, I'd be dreaming about Gin, too, if I, was closer to him.
How does the chicken fit into that joke, though?
Listen, they're not all fucking winners, Kevin. Give me a... I saw you breaking stuff down analytically. I'm over here making yucks.
No, that's okay. I just thought that you would also have an insight into I Dream of Jeannie, where oh no, there was a cat character or something like that, and that's who the chicken is in this scenario. I also don't know a lot about I Dream of Jeannie. I want to help you.
If you would like to know more about I Dream of Jeannie, please check out JP and I's other podcast, Eye of Dreamy Jean, where we watch I Dream of Jeannie in random order, which has already been canceled.
I did guest on that, and I just screamed "Wake up, sheeple" throughout. I don't think that episode ended up making it to air.
So that's the cold open. So then after that, what we find out about Hurley, the beginning of his non-dream stuff here, is that they're in the hatch. JP and I are pretty unclear about what's going on with the hatch. We get a lot of hatch information here throughout this episode. The most important thing for the story is that Hurley is been assigned a job having to do with the hatch. Not only is he part of the crew that's pushing the button, the mysterious button with its mysterious attachment, its mysterious purpose, but Hurley has also been placed in charge of inventorying the food pantry, which is a pretty important job because the survivors have been on the island now for 46 days, surviving on basically mango, as far as I know, shooters of vodka, and maybe a boar.
Do they kill the polar bear in the pilot? Maybe they got that sweet bear meat too. Yeah.
But yeah, so the problem that Hurley's having with this is that it's clearly causing him a huge amount of stress. He's not into it. He's not having the button either. He's asleep at the station there. He gets a talking to from Kate, right? She's like, "Did you fall asleep?" And it's like, God, everybody's all on this already, and it's nobody knows why, but they do know they got to do it, and just reeks of a lock crusade here.
Yep.
Basically, yeah. And specifically with Hurley, it's just the pressure that comes with all of that stuff. I don't know what's going to happen if we hit zero on this. I just know it's very bad, but also 98 minutes is not a long time. Like, you can't be well rested doing it, really. And then additionally, when it comes to the inventory of food, you do also get into the point of making sure that people don't take shit, which does come up later in the episode.
Yeah, and apparently the existence of the stuff in the hatch, everything contained in it, has got to be some sort of secret or some sort of not ready for distribution knowledge. Because when Hurley makes his way to the beach, Charlie interrogates him a little bit, and he's very cagey with the information there. But then if he finally slips a little, he's desperate for somebody to talk to. You can tell throughout this beginning here. Then he finally latches onto Rose, seeing her wash laundry, and he's like, okay. I mean, Hurley's a nice guy. We get that. We probably all like agree that Hurley's one of the nicest dudes on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they say in this episode, you're the one person on this island that everyone likes. Yeah.
And so he sees Rose washing laundry by hand, and he's just like, you don't have to do that anymore. And it starts to give him like raises the question within him that he's going to struggle with throughout the episode. It's like, how much can I help and how much will I hurt with our newfound, the windfall of all the supplies and resources that are in the hatch.
So before we get too far away from this, I do want to go on a little bit of a side quest here. So Rose has a line while she's doing laundry where she says to Hurley something about like, honey, that's your business, which I was like, hell yeah, that's her business.
He's like, don't you want to know what's going on? And she's like, nope.
Yeah. So between the main body of survivors and the other group of survivors, they say that there were 40 survivors with this with
40 something in the middle section. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You said around 40 survivors. So including the principal characters where we know who they are and they're all wrapped up in all these shenanigans, there's 15 people currently of people that we on this podcast are aware of, because all the time when they're on the beach, there's always people just walking in the background, and I'm like, who are those assholes and what are they doing? And I got to thinking, I'm like, oh, are they the ones that are like constantly fishing and like getting coconuts and distilling water and getting firewood and building shelters? And then I see Rose just washing some goddamn clothes, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's nice for a named character to be pulling their weight for once, because everyone else is like, the hatch, there's a polar bear, John Locke, and then these other people are like, hey, okay, we're gonna do all the fishing, I guess. Dinner's at 7.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, because there's a lot of just lost characters being really mean to each other and saying like, oh no, like you have to do this. Hurley, wake your ass up. Hurley, I'm stealing your fucking shampoo. Hurley, steal some goddamn peanut butter for me. And presumably there's all these other people who are just going, oh, you have plenty of fish for everyone over here. And it does hit a point where sometimes I would like to know more about those other people, and it's kind of nice because Rose seems to be a conduit to that.
Yeah, no doubt. Segueing into that, L. Scott Caldwell, the actor who played Rose, not a main character. Yep. She was never billed as part of the main cast. She was always a guest star.
Well, but I mean, like, she has a name, because right. While they're talking, two like a man and a woman walk behind Hurley, and I'm like, who the fuck are these two?
Like, from my standpoint, I remember thinking back, watching the show, Rose is a fairly actually important and recurring character, just as important as any of the other main cast, if not more important. And she's never billed as main cast until there's an episode way later on, and I think maybe season 6, where she finally gets billed up front with the rest of the main cast. It was so frustrating for me throughout, just thinking like, I like Rose a lot more than probably 6 of the 15 main characters. Guest actress every time. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and she absolutely kills the performance.
No, so good. I was mentioning earlier about this hatch information is not for distribution or whatever. Jack is the one who like brings that to our attention in the episode. He's just, like, Hurley wanders up to the hatch with Rose, gonna point out the washer and dryer to her, and Jack's like, he gets all salty right away with her, poor Hurley, just like, who else did you tell? It's like, get off his case.
Well, and also salty with Rose right there. It's basically, oh, I'm going to treat you like you aren't a part of the island, even though you are also on this island. You're clearly doing our fucking laundry. And I feel like that should merit at least a little bit of respect. Yeah.
And that's my thing. I understand that there's importance to the computer and the numbers. There's supplies there that you don't want people just like, rushing the room. There's apparently firearms around. But at the same time, like, everyone survived a plane crash. You're all in this together. To be withholding the information that, oh, there's a shelter so you don't have to sleep on the goddamn beach. Lady with your newborn baby and elderly folk. Like, fuck you. Tell them that there's a place with a roof and everybody goes and crashes in there.
And this just it speaks to Jack's control issues and his dealing out of information. Like, he's always got to be the one in charge. Like, he's got his fingers in every pie, and it's just like, these are Jack's treasures to dole out now here, and he's going to decide when and who. Like, get bent.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Hurley has brought Rose up to the thing, he reveals to her what his job now is, and he's got to inventory and then deal with the food store. And Rose offers to help him because Rose is nice. Hurley's nice. Two nice people doing hopefully a nice thing for the rest of them and being treated like shit the entire time.
Yeah. It's a pantry of wholesomeness. And the issue is, because it's all wholesomeness, there are people who are trying to take advantage of it. Now, we do have Kate taking the shampoo earlier and kind of trampling poor Hurley in the meantime, and Rose kind of going, oh, it's okay. It's one bottle of shampoo. And like, that's not the end of the world. And Hurley gets really tense and says, well, yeah, but that's kind of how this all starts. Yeah. And I think that's right when we go into our flashbacks with Hurley, where we see that he is a lottery winner. And he happened to win specifically with the numbers that you have to put into the hatch, so that way it doesn't explode the island. Yeah. There are a lot of people who are mean to Hurley this episode, because first of all, like, his mom eviscerates him like a battle rapper at the beginning. It's basically just, you're fat as fuck, you're sad, get off your ass, go. And
relentlessly dunks on him. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's Jesus on the phone. Hey, Jesus wants to know what kind of car you want. And it's like, God damn, Mom. Like,
right? Like it's so mean to our buddy Hurley. Also, at the same time, like, it tells you she must have practice at this. She must do it all the time for it to just rattle these insults off like this.
I did want the phone when she picked it up to actually just have it be someone named Jesus, but
could have been
whatever. Yeah. But not to get too far into flashbacks, but even though we don't get into, and I'm pretty sure from one of the other 5 episodes of Lost that I've seen before this podcast, that we see more of Hurley's life after he won the lottery, but like, everyone already knows that story. You know what I mean? Like, we can put together, yes, he won the lottery, and we can see how he's dealing with this responsibility of just having to guard food. Like, he's got all of something and other people are going to want it. Like, we don't even need to see all of that happen to understand why he's so tense about just giving the food to people.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
That's probably why we don't, like, the episode flashback doesn't deal with like people coming up and hitting him for money. It deals with, it shows us Hurley's anxiety throughout, just about how this responsibility is going to change his life.
Right, because he already knows what's going to happen. Like, that's...
And we as the audience know it too, because, it's a story. It's a story as old as stories.
Well, and additionally, it's one of those things where the entirety of the flashback isn't necessarily him dealing with the aftermath of getting the lottery. We basically just have sad DJ Qualls at one point, and that's basically all we have to indicate that this went sour for him. Yeah. Aside from how it's informing the actual episode itself, which I thought was a really interesting choice. But yeah, for the most part, those flashbacks it's just Hurley trying to hold on to the before of this major tectonic event. And I think he understands that not just the hatch, but the pantry itself, and knowing the food and how much that's going to mean to people is also going to be a tectonic event for the island. And you know how seriously he's taking it because of that.
All right, so let's talk briefly about Jack and Saeed's experience with the hatch.
Yeah, with Saeed, we just start with him whacking a door with some titanium, which I actually missed. Do we know why he is specifically just trying to? It's like, well, I'll just try and blunt force my way in, or was there an actual purpose beyond that?
People probably do. JP and I do not know.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't know if like, oh no, there is actually a specific reason why he's doing that, or that's just Saeed's thing. Like when the polar bear was shot, he did also spend a couple days whacking it with a titanium pole to be like, maybe I'll understand this more if I do this.
No, I just do appreciate that everyone's like running around with all this drama, and Saeed's just like, I'm getting to work over here. I'm digging, I'm hitting this thing with a pole. Like I don't care what all your shit is. I'm getting to work over here.
Solution oriented he is.
Yes, exactly.
Granted, his solution is whack on it with a large piece of debris from who knows where.
Yeah,
probably a bit of the plane. Who knows?
But yeah, he's trying to get into a room with a weird magnetic just field around it. They suspect that it's some sort of geothermal power source that's probably powering the hatch. And there's
Does
lot of
geothermal mean magnetic? That's the only thing I really got from that.
No,
But it is
Geothermal is like the source of like heat energy from deep with it below the surface of the earth.
Okay, yeah. Well, there is also that magnetic quality though too, right? Because Jack's key kind of like whoop, like flips up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we don't have the answer to that. He mentions the geothermal power plant, which he suspects powers the hatch, and he does not mention the magnetic aspect of whatever's happening that pulls Jack's key to the wall. And so I mean, like they're completely in the dark here, and so like I understand why Saeed's trying to figure out what he's doing,
Of course, yeah.
and trying to figure out what's going on behind this wall. The thing I loved about it was the only thing he figured out was that the wall is probably 8 feet thick. It's like, how did he figure that out? Just by pounding it.
just knocking on it a little bit here, a little bit there.
This is an 8-foot wall of concrete. I can tell. It sounds different than a 6-foot wall of concrete.
Yeah, he measured the polar bear and he goes, that's 2 feet. Whacks the polar bear and goes, that's the sound 2 feet of barrier sounds like. So just, that times 4. Okay, cool.
Yes, exactly. He's got a tuning fork or something like that.
Yeah. And so Jack and Saeed are trying desperately to figure out what's going on here. So they find a crawl space. The hatch has a crawl space and they're underneath it. Mm-hmm. They're down there. They run into the same problem. The concrete's still 8 feet thick. They hear some sort of weird noise, which draws Jack away. And then we get a very brief Porky's style, like,
oh my God.
Where Kate more or less just OUs that entire interaction instead of going, why the fuck are you here?
Yeah. Like she's just like fine with it. It's just, oh, whoopsie, I left you some shampoo. Get the fuck out of here, Jack.
Right. The whole time I'm just like, you little pervert, get out of the dang shower. Like, it just some privacy, please.
Why didn't he leave? Like, why wasn't he like, oh, I'll just go back the way I came? Where Saeed is still waiting and gets abandoned, and it's just under the crawl space of the hatch for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the last time we see him.
Some say if you listen on a cold night, you can still hear Saeed under that crawl space.
So dumb. I think that's probably all we need to say about the hatch. Let's talk about the question mark location on the island. If we were to zoom out of a map of the island and zoom in on a question mark where Sawyer, Jin, and Michael are.
The only thing that we can really illuminate right now is it's a pit and they have a little gate. Mm-hmm. And initially Jin and Michael are let off and Sawyer is just sort of left to rot for a bit. And then eventually they throw him the rope. And he's not about that. He wants to know what's going on with his friends. And his friends are up top like, fucking just take the rope, douchebag. And then, up they go. And then we have an altercation with Michelle Rodriguez. What's happening there, Busher?
She's just not having it. She's exerting her authority over her former prisoner. I guess still technically prisoner.
Yeah, sort of.
She's not putting up with Sawyer's devil-may-care, brash cowboy attitude. She's coming at him, just cowboying back at him just as hard. And he's obviously not prepared to deal with that. Yeah. Plus, then she stomps on his gunshot wound. So...
I will say the thing that made me laugh during this scene was when Sawyer looked up and went, "If you ever touch me again, I'll kill you." And it's like, you have zero fuking power in this scenario, dude. Right. You have no leg to stand on right now.
I kind of wanted her to punch him again.
Right.
I did, yeah. But what was interesting was Michelle Rodriguez's character kind of recognized that too and just laughed at him and went, "All right, let's just go."
Can we just take a moment to appreciate that? Don't look it up. Does anyone know her character name, or is she just Michelle Rodriguez? Because
I don't know what it is.
She is the same character in every movie that she's ever been in. She's just like, I'm tough and in jeans.
And see, now I'm trying to think of anything she's been in outside of Fast and Furious, and I'm having a hard time.
The first Resident Evil.
Oh, yeah, she plays the exact same.
And she plays this exact same character in that movie.
Also,
is she in jeans in Resident Evil though?
No, but dude, the damn island's so hot she would have cut those into jorts weeks ago. Let's be real.
I did notice that everyone was in pants or like long sleeve shirts, and I went, I guess it's just really breezy there. I don't know.
These four folks over here that are holding captive Sawyer and Jin and Michael are, they're looking pretty worse for the wear. They're pretty banged up.
Yeah.
I don't think we get names until a little bit later. We get Libby's name, the blonde woman played by Cynthia Watras, who I think I mentioned in a previous episode, was in another one of my favorite TV shows, Titus, and Adewale. I'm never going to pronounce his name right. I know his name is Echo. We don't find it out till way later, but we get a little bit of apology here, a little bit of like a softening of the rough edges of these four mysterious folks here. Echo comes up and he apologizes to Sawyer about being so hard on him, putting him in a tiger pit, and like, which is nice. So you get the point that like you get the idea that it's like, okay, they have an antagonistic relationship here, these four versus our main beach survivors, but maybe it was just because they were scared or they were unknowns or whatever, so it's like there's a softening of the relationship there.
Right, because when they're talking about how many survivors they have on their side, they say, there's 23 of us, and then they get to their hatch or their bunker, and there's just a handful of people. He's like, I thought you said there's 23. It's like, well, there were. So that, we know something happened. So it's not just the difference of, this group of survivors formed a civilization this way and this one formed a different way. It's they've been through a drastically different scenario than our principal group of survivors.
And I remember I remember back in watching the show originally, that was attributed, one of the major attributions of the difference between the second group of survivors that we're first being introduced to here in the podcast anyway. One of the main reasons why the middle section survivors, our primary group, fared so much better is that Jack is a physician.
Right.
The other section, we'll figure this out later, but they didn't have a doctor, and that hurt them amongst other things.
And John Locke wasn't there. Did anyone, and I call me stupid if this was the intention, but did anyone else get cannibalism vibes?
I did not get a cannibalism vibe. Now,
well, I thought when they were like, "Yeah, we used to have more people come on in, check this out," I was like, "Oh shit, are they gonna try and eat my sweet tenderloin boy Jin?" No, his muscles are too hard. You can't bite into those.
I'll say I did not get cannibalism vibes, which I think means that if I ever come across a tribe of cannibals, I will be eaten by the cannibals, because I'll be like, "Oh, they just seem so pleasant," and then all of a sudden I'm Kevin Stew.
They invited me over for chili. It was nice.
We had a good time. One other cool thing about this other storyline here with the Sawyer, Jin, and Michael is that they get taken to this hatch, and so we see another hatch. There's a second structure on this island that's existent other than the one that the main beach survivors are dealing with. So there's obviously some sort of interesting history there. Likely having something to do with the Dharma Initiative, which JP and I have a little bit of experience with.
Indeed. And well, additionally, what we know about that group of survivors is they're the back half of the plane, because we have that established with Hurley talking to Rose, and she says, "Oh yeah, my husband," and poor Hurley just coming in with the emotional intelligence of a doorknob. Oh, wasn't he in the back half of the plane though? And Rose is so sweet and just rolls it off. And then we do eventually see her husband approach and say, "Hey, do you guys know a woman named Rose? Is she okay?" So we do know that that's who these people are.
That was such a sweet, that was such an emotional moment, like that actor. I was just like, oh God, can you imagine what he's going through right now? He's going up, he's asking the question knowing, she's fucking toast someplace, and he gets the most miraculous news ever, and this just this wave of emotion that washes over his face. I was like, wow, this is some real human shit.
And then it immediately cuts to Rose's face as because we know that she just has faith that her husband is alive, but she's probably going through
she just got a Lindor chocolate and a Pop-Tart, and she's like, oh man, that was good. I didn't have to share that with nobody.
I was taking that as she was genuinely maybe my husband would also enjoy this Pop-Tart.
Because she's got that line. She has that line earlier when they're inventorying the thing. Hurley's like, "You ever heard of an Apollo bar?" And she's like, "Well, as my husband would say, candy's candy." And she's just happy to have candy. And that's a shared experience between her and Bernard. And so that's a touchstone for her. And between Sam Anderson's reaction to the news from Michael and Sawyer that Rose is still alive, and then cutting back to Rose, who throughout this episode we've seen her profess her confidence and faith that Bernard's still alive, for that to pay off. Yeah, it was just like that hit me as I was like, oh yes.
I don't say this lightly. I said "daw" out loud as I was watching this. That did hit.
Yeah, good moment there. And two wonderful actors there, L. Scott Caldwell and Sam Anderson. I was earlier, I was always sad that they were never really members of the main cast, because every time they come in, it's great. It's like after Sun and Jin, one of the best relationships in the show, in my opinion, is the relationship between Rose and Bernard, and they're still not put together yet, so we got to hope that they will be soon.
I'm excited for it. Will they? Won't they? They probably will.
I want to talk ever so briefly about another relationship that we will likely never see what happened. Hurley in the flashback raises up to ask out Starla, played by Marguerite Moreau.
Yeah, you see them flirt a little bit, and it comes up that he had quit his job, and she says, "Oh, what, if you quit, then the bees will quit making honey." And I then looked back at from a 2020 perspective and was like, "You can fucking buckle up there, buddy." But eventually he does work up the courage to ask her out, and I went, "Oh, that's really sweet." And then I got to the end of the episode and went, what happened on the date, though? I mean, I get that DJ Qualls is sad, but how did that pay out? I want to see that.
Marguerite Moreau, I had a crush on her forever, because she, most people my age would probably remember her from the Mighty Ducks, the Mighty Ducks franchise, in fact. And then going on to later Wet Hot American Summer as Katie and some other things too.
Oh my God, that's where I recognize her from.
Let's say I don't know my Mighty Ducks lore that well.
One of the funny things about this, this will take only a moment, is that in the Mighty Ducks she plays a character named Connie Moreau, and I always think it's funny that when an actor plays a role that has the same name as their real name, like if Matthew Fox were in a movie and he played a character called Matthew. I always find that funny. I thought it was really funny in this that Marguerite Moreau plays Connie Moreau. It's the first time you've ever seen them have the same last name as the character they're playing. I just thought that was weird.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, cut this part out.
Guys, I gotta stop recording. Oh man, you just split my sides with that comedy. Oh man, my sides. Oh, my guts are split. Oh, I'm having a laugh.
Look, I'm not one of these conformists that believes that all jokes have to be funny.
Anyways.
Y'all are as mean to each other as the members of Lost are to each other on the island. Like, it's okay. Sometimes you whiff on a joke.
What else do we have left to talk about?
Hurley has dynamite.
Yeah, we should really get into that. And I do agree generally that it is kind of cool that we don't necessarily see the fallout of all the bad things that come from Hurley winning the lottery. But that said, him going from 0 to I'm explode the Chips Ahoy was a huge jump. And maybe I did need just an iota more than just DJ Qualls looks sad at a gas station. I might have needed a little bit more in order to understand him going quite that far. But yeah, I mean, it does get to him trying to plant some dynamite, but then Rose, like an archangel, talks some sense into him.
That's a super good point, Kevin. Like the consequences of winning the lottery in the flashback aren't strong enough to reinforce the decision of Hurley in the present to just like, all right, well, fuck it, I'll blow it up.
Yeah.
And again, like, I totally see the math there of like, oh, something really bad must have happened, but I should probably see that as a viewer in order to understand why, yeah, blowing everything up is the right recourse.
Right. It's like, yeah, there's going to be some struggles around splitting everything up and making sure that everyone gets their equal share, but like, that's infinitely easier than trying to justify the fact that, like, well, because that was going to be hard, I just blew it all up.
Right. I have trouble saying no to people, ergo, I'll just blow everything up. And then people are like, were there any supplies? It's like, fucking took care of that, don't you worry. Yeah,
don't worry.
I don't know.
Yeah, the way the flashback resolves is that they could have, like, Johnny could have just been mad and then they made up.
Yeah, exactly.
See it. Yeah.
And then sort of what's interesting is because there's a through line through this episode of Hurley has a very hard time saying no to people, or basically being able to stick up for himself. And the end of the episode, it doesn't, like, he does sort of stick up for himself, but in kind of an interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that way is instead of rationing out all of these supplies, let's just have a big fuck you party on an island, and I'll hand the peanut butter over to Charlie.
Yeah, and he asserts himself to Daddy Jack, who has, walked around the entire episode, being all secretive about who can know what about the hatch, and Hurley stands up for himself right there, and he's like, no, this is my job, and so this is how we're doing it. And then Jack just immediately relents. He's like, oh, okay. He decides in that moment to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Thanks for being here, Mr. Wildly Inconsistent. Excuse me, Dr. Wildly Inconsistent.
Yeah, he is. Jack is basically a dictator who occasionally is like, all right, I'll let you guys have one party. And, oh, gee whiz. Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
And then the result of the feast, the doling out of all the supplies, is we get a little montage here of really sweet relationship moments. We get to see Charlie and Claire, Charlie bringing the peanut butter out that he was originally denied, and we see them being adorable. And then we see Kate and Jack here, recovered from their awkward shower thing earlier, and I've said this in previous episodes about Jack only having the emotional maturity to be to have a relationship with a single woman at a time. Like he doesn't know how to talk to or identify with more than one woman at a time in any sort of capacity. And right now it's Kate, so maybe that's what she put up with his shower shit, because he's their pally. They're buddy right now.
So is there, I have to assume that in the episode after this, so everyone got to like split up all the fun snacks and delicious sweets and treats. So then after this, it's going to be like a Life Aquatic thing where everyone gets a Glock. Because John Locke found the gun room. Are they all just going to split those up and be like, everybody, okay, no, you two have to share one, but everybody else gets a H&K G3, let's go.
If you're a couple, you share one sniper rifle. One of you can be the spotter. Otherwise, if you're single, come on over here. We got the grenade launcher section.
No, Hurley, you've got TNT. You're done. You get to just hold on to that.
And Charlie, you get nunchucks, because that's all we have left.
Yes.
I will say, to bring up the peanut butter thing, initially when Charlie was coming up to say, "Oh, I want peanut butter, it's for Claire," I read that as hoink, and I was reading that as, no, I just want some peanut butter. So I was genuinely kind of thrown off when, oh, no, he did actually want to give the peanut butter to the child. I thought Charlie was just being a douche.
Just scamming. Just trying to get the peanut butter hookup for himself.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, he's super aggro when he comes in there. He comes in Hurley hard, and it does
emotionally manipulative as fuck. Yeah,
yeah. And Hurley's incredibly polite rejection results in a wildly inappropriate reaction from Charlie.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, they've only been on this island, though, for X amount of days. He's like a rock star who's used to, like, just saying bottle of water, and one appears in his hand decapped already. So, like, him being like, oh, just let me take some of this peanut butter, and then Hurley's like, nah, and he's like, well, I don't understand how casuals live.
That's a bit.
Do we got any remaining notes that we want to cover before we get into the end?
There's something with an empty bottle of wine that's got some notes in it that didn't seem to do much of anything.
Oh yeah,
it appears as if at some point there was a message in a bottle. I was reading it because we come up to sun at the end. As everyone is having this like grand old nighttime picnic, Claire, another woman whose character name I forgot because it's been like 15 years, and also a dog? ?
It was Shannon. I didn't recognize her at first, but it was Shannon.
Okay, and then a dog, which, do we know who the dog is?
Yeah, Vincent Walt's dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's those three approach and go, hey, bud, so we found this note, and so that probably means your boo is dead. And then they fuck off, and that's just kind of the end of that. So we do still have like a little bit of sour, a little bit of sad at the picnic, but yeah, it really didn't matter too much in the macro sense of the story.
Right, because it happens earlier in the episode, ever so briefly, pretty close to the beginning, that Claire is the one who discovers the bottle, and she pieces together that it's the notes that got put on the raft, ? Which I guess we can assume that Sawyer, Jin, and Michael were on or something. Like, these are the notes from the raft because we got these back and we don't know where they are. Yeah, they're probably dead or whatever. But that moment, I kind of like that moment there, because right at the end of the episode, they give her the responsibility of it because her husband Jim was on the raft or whatever, and she decides to bury it. She decides not to tell everybody about the bottle because for whatever reason she doesn't want to spoil the feast. She doesn't want to whatever, but she makes that decision there, and it's a pretty interesting moment of executive decision making, and that take charge attitude is just one more reason why I love her.
yeah
That's about it. Kevin, do you have any other notes that you had before we get into the end of it?
The only thing I don't think we covered is I just wrote in all caps, surprise DJ Qualls. And as someone who grew up watching The New Guy, the very forgotten film from the early 2000s, I was like, oh, that's neat. And that was it. So, JP, what are your thoughts on DJ Qualls?
Oh, man. I wonder how he's doing in quarantine. The only note that I have is that Hurley needs to stop crumpling up the fucking winning lottery ticket like it's a cheeseburger wrapper, because whatever he's got, he just like crunches it and puts it in his pocket, and I'm like, fucking stop that.
Yeah, like put it in your wallet or something. Like at least, like
I was about to say, as someone who's had like receipts and stuff fall out of my pockets, I did get some residual anxiety every time you just, nothing, shove it into back pocket, lean back in the car seat. Like, dude, no, you gotta take more care.
That's every trope is like, I won the lottery, and then the ticket blows away, and then I've got to like go on a baby's day out adventure to go catch it.
Jeez. That's a reach. Is your back okay from reaching for that reference?
Yes. I need more lumbar support.
Let's talk about some Lost MVP action here. Lost MVP is our favorite character of the episode, regardless of whatever other action they may have gotten into in the past, either chronologically or podcast order. Kevin, who was your Lost MVP for Everybody Hates Hugo?
It's gotta be Rose. Like, Rose is just, she's the bomb. Like, we start with her, she's minding her own business, she's the one that gets dragged into the hatch, but she doesn't have any qualms, any questions. She appears to be the only character on the goddamn island who can keep a secret. She does everything absolutely perfectly. She handles all of her tasks well. Additionally, when Hurley not only has the social faux pas of saying, gee, isn't your husband dead? And also saying, I'm going to blow up a part of the hatch. She handles both of those incredibly gracefully. And so for me, it's no question. It's got to be Rose.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's absolutely good. Busher, lost MVP.
This go around, I got to give it to Sun. She's got the glow up going on. When we first encounter her, crisp white capris, clean tank top, garden out of a magazine, like
double cheeked up on a Thursday.
Everybody else is on a deserted island with a bunch of nonsense happening. His son is making it work for her, for everybody. I love it. I love her. Not only is she tending to a well-kept and flourishing garden, as I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, hiding the bottle, preserving the hope. I feel like in this situation that the survivor's in, they need any hope that they can latch onto, false or not. And while it may come back to bite them in the end, possibly, not knowing about the notes, not knowing about the raft's outcome or the raft's status, in this moment, I think it was the right thing to do. So yeah, Sun's got to be the MVP, is the MVP for me. Yeah. JP, what do you think?
A character with very little screen time, but I believe is going to have a lot of impact as the show goes on. The cashier at the gas station that sold Hurley the lottery ticket. This guy remembers the numbers and face of everyone that he sold a lottery ticket to. This guy has such skills that he could, if he applies himself a little bit, he can get them off this island. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, you would not take a lottery ticket like that back to the gas station. You'd take it to the lottery office, right?
Yeah, you'd have to go to like whatever the state lottery officers at with winnings of that size. Like, yeah, you can't just go cash it in at a 7-Eleven.
So this guy looks down as he's handing the number over, memorizes the numbers, hands it to Hurley, commits to remembering his face, and they can spot him across a dark parking lot sitting in a car. Dude, he's Batman. It's fucking Batman.
A gas station in LA, which probably sees thousands of people on any given day.
All right, let's move on to Lost Forever. So this was your least favorite character of the episode. Kevin, we'll start with you.
He like semi-redeems himself like right at the end because, again, he did have a legitimate reason for that peanut butter, but Charlie is such a dick in this episode. I was so put off by how like prickish he was. And bear in mind, it's not, hey, I need baby formula. There isn't like a really clear and immediate need. He's asking for fucking Jiffy, man. And he goes off on Hurley and more or less threatens to sever the friendship. And in addition to that, there was like this really huge air of entitlement when he went up to talk to Locke and he said, I demand to know what's going on with this specific part of the island. And like, as of right now, because I kind of like you guys, I'm out of order on this too. I don't really know if he's earned that entitlement or not, but that entitlement plus being a dick about Jiffy, that's Lost Forever as far as I'm concerned.
That's very valid. Yeah. Busher, Lost Forever.
This one is a very simple answer for me. It is Michelle Rodriguez, Ana Lucia, and simply because she's mean. That's no further explanation. She's just so mean to everybody in her career as an actress. All the characters she plays, she's always mean, and she's specifically mean to Hot Jin and Michael and Sawyer, and I that was enough for me.
Yeah.
Honestly, Lost Forever. Get out of my house.
Absolutely.
What about you, JP?
Take a fucking guess. It's Claire. Are you kidding me? You're given a jar of peanut butter and you just start digging into it with your fucking fingers and shoving peanut butter in your maw like that? Well, I guess no one else wants some. Your goddamn booger hooks have been stuck in that thing. I don't suppose you washed your hands beforehand? Of course not.
Oh my god. Claire's gonna end up being your loss forever every time, even for episodes she's not in.
Well, she had 10 seconds on screen where she had to not fuck something up, and she managed to just absolutely just ruin the episode for me. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but she's just goddamn Claire.
Oh god. Let's do a burning question if you got one. Kevin, burning question is your favorite question that was raised in this episode that was not answered and that you hope gets answered in another episode.
What happened with the date? I was so perturbed, because presumably that means things went as bad with her as with DJ Qualls, and that's a burning question. And I also have a 1A to my answer, a sub-burning question, sure. Which, again, I was very thrown off by the dog, who I now know is Vincent. Thank you very much, Adam, for that. Now, here's the deal. I know through popular media that if trained, a dog can play basketball. As such, why can't they train Vincent to also push the button every 108 minutes?
There's nothing in the rule book that says a dog can't use a computer.
That's true.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
That's very true.
Oh my god. JP, what about you? Do you have a burning question?
A couple. I'd love to know more about what Saeed was doing, or what he finds with that power source. I believe Locke mentioned someone that was in the hatch when they discovered it. We on this podcast have not encountered that yet, so I'd love to know more about that. And when Hugo's former boss is going to learn the error of his ways, because Hugo's worked there for a long time and he had a temporary name tag with a sticker on it, and that is not how you build associate loyalty. So, I wonder when he's going to have a character arc.
I had one, but it's kind of a weak burning question because I know for sure it gets answered. But I am very excited to see how Sawyer, Jin, and Michael ended up crossing paths with the tail section.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Sure. But I do know that does get answered. But I'm just excited to see what happens there. Final question: did we like it? JP, did you like it?
Yeah, I like this one a lot. This one was good.
Kevin?
I did like it, but now I do have to go back to you, JP, because I was promised a lot of dope lighting burns throughout this entire episode. How was the lighting, JP?
The lighting, oh man, the lighting has been kind of flat, to be real. I mean, the stuff where they do in the hatch, or they do the stuff with Saeed and Jack in the little crawl space, they can do some fun stuff with that, but a lot of the outdoor stuff is pretty uninspired. The lighting on Hurley when he had just quit his job and he's sitting out leaning against his car with his friend, they sat him under a tree, but it wasn't open shade, so there's still direct sunlight coming onto the front side of his face, and I'm like, y'all didn't have a 4x4 you could have tossed above him or something like that? Come on, man. There was, I don't know, I think there was more shots out of focus again in this episode, just that's a reoccurring thing, is that the AC sucks. Yeah,
you're getting used to shit being out of focus, so you're not noticing it as much.
Yeah, let me see. I wrote the word skis bucket. I don't know what that meant.
Is that notes. A lighting term?
Oh no, that was Jack was being a skis bucket, not getting out of the bathroom when Kate was showering.
Let's do another quick plug here, Kevin.
Yeah. I can do a quick plug. By the way, in terms of the episode itself, on a scale of 1 to Boone, I will give this a 4. I thought this one was pretty solid.
God damn it.
Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the show. You have your own show. Let's talk about it again when it airs and where people can find it.
Yeah, of course. So I am on Trailer Hitch. You can find us through Stitcher. You can find us through Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Twitter at Trailer Hitch Pod. We also have an Instagram at Trailer Hitch Podcast. You can also search Trailer Hitch Podcast on Facebook and on YouTube. You can find all of our content there. We drop an episode every 2 weeks. And I've had this discussion so many times. Is that bi-weekly, or does bi-weekly means twice a week?
They both can mean both.
Yeah, they're both. It's so
Fucking
dumb.
weird. Okay, so we post bi-weekly, but with the one with more space. That's the bi-weekly we're talking about here. And we drop episodes. Usually they'll come on sometime around Monday morning. So yeah, we have, I think, about 98 episodes now. So you got plenty to catch up on. Y'all should head on over.
Sounds good. Absolutely.
Wildly entertaining show. And Kevin, you were a phenomenal guest. We'll definitely have you back if you'd like to come back.
I would love to. Thank you so much. I had such a great time, guys.
Perfect. And for the audience at home, if you're trying to be lost with us, check out our next episode. We will be watching season 2, episode 14, One of Them.
So thanks for listening to this episode of Lost on Lost.
I'm Adam.
I'm JP.
Do you have
I'm
any
Kevin.
Do you have any idea what's going on in this show?
Nope.
Me neither. Lost on Lost is produced and edited by Adam Busher and JP Russell.
Recorded on location in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Los Angeles, California.
Our show is hosted at Podbean. Find us there or wherever you find your podcasts.
Thanks to Danny Schmitz of Lost in a Name for our theme music.
Lostpedia and the community of contributors there.
Random.org for creating the watch order.
Check out our Facebook page, Lost on Lost, or find us on Twitter and Instagram at Lost on Lost 1.
Don't follow those jerks at Lost on Lost 2.
You can also email us at wearelostonlost@gmail.com. If you like what we're getting into here, buy us a coffee at coffee.com/wearelostonlost.
That's ko-fi.com/wearelostonlost.